Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of So Mechanical. My name is Gregor Sidler. Today we talk about those little boogers called end caps. The end caps hold your spool of thread in place so it won't fall off. But how do you use them correctly? I will show in this video. On most sewing machines today, the thread gets mounted horizontally onto a spool holder. The reason for that is simple. I would like the least amount of resistance when I pull the thread away from the spool. So if I mount the thread like this, every time I need thread, the machine, when it needs some thread, needs to move the entire spool around. So if the spool is very big, you could have tension influence because of that. So if I just put this on here, something needs to hold this spool in place. For that we have those end caps. Most machine manufacturer will provide you with 3 different sizes: small, medium and large. Which size should you use? Let me show and explain to you. If you have a spool like this, where the end of the spool is very nice and smooth, and when you pull the thread away like this, it's not going to get caught, you can use an end cap that is actually smaller than the spool end itself. If you're on the other hand using a spool like this, where the end has some cuts in there, or it's just not smooth, and each time when you go around the thread gets caught right there, you're gonna have to use an end cap that is larger than the end of the spool. So once you put this on here and the thread gets pulled away, you always have a smooth pull and the thread is not going to get caught on the end. Well, now you might say, well, to be on the safe side, I might just use always a big end cap. That's not necessarily good, because if you are having a small spool like this and you're using a big end cap like that, you are going to get sometimes to the point where the angle here is so big that, like now, the thread doesn't want to come off because the angle is too steep. So no, even if this spool would be not smooth here, you would use the mid-size end cap, so when you pull again, the end would be nice and smooth to pull this away. There is one more spool I would like to talk to you about it. These are those spools. They look like cones. We use them mostly embroidery thread or come like that, a lot of them. So how I'm going to mount that correctly: if you own a Bernina and you have one of those foam pads, I would highly recommend you put that foam pad on first, then put the spool of thread on, and now use this small or medium end cap to hold the spool in place. Now, there is one caution when you're using those cones. Make sure this end cap is tight and doesn't have a space in between. If you have a space in between, eventually the thread will be caught between here, and you're going to end up with something what you see right now. You still will be stitching, you will be putting on too much tension, the needle will break, and you will be questioning yourself why the needle just break, because you will be concentrating on the needle and on the bobbin area, what's wrong down there. but actually the fault is up here. So whenever you're using one of those cone looking spools, make sure the end cap is tight so the thread cannot go in between. Now again, please make sure you are not putting on the end cap in this direction, otherwise you will be covering up the last parts of the thread, and when you pull this thread away you will be guaranteed breaking a needle, because the thread under here will not be releasing itself. So I hope this video helps about the end caps, and I see you next time.